Hey everybody, Paddy here. Now welcome to my new show called The Effing News, or just plain old TFN, and thank you so much for being here. Every week I'll be bringing a bit of positivity into the news world. We're going to meet good Kiwis, great Kiwis, brainy Kiwis, and more Kiwis, and we are going to start every week with 5 pieces of genuinely positive news from this week. Number 1 this week is the Dunner Stunner. There was a massive crowd of 35,000 people on the streets of Dunedin at the weekend. Yes, 35,000 people protesting cutbacks to the city's long overdue hospital. That is more people than were at the sellout All Blacks test against Australia on Saturday night in Wellington. Now, the cutbacks to the hospital aren't good news, obviously, but a city uniting, getting out there, fighting for themselves and for future generations, actually. That is good news. Good on you, Dunedin. Like I said, Dunner Stunner. Number 2 this week, Liam Lawson will drive and thrive. On Friday, we found out Liam has got a slot with Formula One racing team Red Bull. This is huge news. 100 million people globally watch these races one at a time. Now, I am not the biggest fan of Formula One, or cars for that matter. I can barely drive. I can't drive a manual, but I did watch Drive to Survive on Netflix. Anyway, I love Liam Lawson and his family, because here's something he said that really touched me. He said, my parents sold their house so I could keep racing. They gave absolutely everything for me to be able to race. So a big shout out to Liam's olds, Kirsty and Jared Lawson, great Kiwis. That's a Kiwi and his family reaching for their dreams. That's news. That's positive. Go Liam, drive and thrive, bro. Now, number 3, the haka world record. On Saturday night, 6,500 people did the haka. There were another 10,000 in the stand at Eden Park. People getting out to be part of something bigger than themselves. That's good news, and really good news. We finally got something back from the French that they stole from us 10 years ago. That's good news. Now, number 4, Rollicking Rolleston. Rolleston on the rise. Its population was 29,623 in 2023, almost triple what it was in 2013. Its mayor says it is going to be bigger than Dunedin in 10 years' time. It has got all sorts of helpful things, a health hub, full schools, busy shopping centre. It's even got growing pains. How good is that? That's good news. That's positive. It's a growing town. The best thing is, in 1973, it had a sign saying, Rolleston, town of the future. It is coming through now, and that I like a town that keeps its promises. Number 5, Crocs have finally been called out. The insult to feet, also known as Crocs, have finally been called out. On Tuesday, ACC revealed Croc-related accidents are up to 128, more than last year's 109. Thank you, ACC. This is good news. Finally, an official group has called out these fashion criminals. Hopefully, it will lead to action. I look forward to Crocs being added to the gang patch ban list. And that's Gower's good news for this week. Now, we're going to start this show with the most positive person in New Zealand right now. Dai Henwood, what a name, what a man. Now, Dai was diagnosed with incurable bowel cancer 4.5 years ago. Since then, he has undergone any number of rounds of chemotherapy and been on a journey, as they say, living with cancer that not many of us can really understand. Now, his new documentary, Live and Let Die, is out. It is stunning. It's raw, it's real, and it does go a long way to making us understand the big C. It's out on 3 now, and the last of its 3 parts is on 3 tonight. A big part of it is the Japanese tabadashi, or death ceremony, which I'm going to ask Dai about. Dai, hi, and congratulations on the doco. It is amazing. Just so personal, Dai.
It was. I've never...
It was so personal.
So I'm someone who... I shed a tear. I'm an emotional man, but I don't often cry in public. And there's a lot of tears in there. There was laughter in there. There was emotion. And it was quite nerve-wracking, especially for my family to see it. And I've been contacted. I've got whānau sort of all around New Zealand, and they watched it, and everyone was sort of, wow, we're super proud of you. So, no, it's sort of, even though I'm in a tough spot, I did a round of chemo last week. I'm doing one next week. I'm sort of still in the thick of it, but I'm so stoked I did this.
This show that I've got you on is my first ever guest, by the way. So,
Well, pretty honoured. You could have started with anyone from a Dame Kiri Takanawa to, but you went with me.
She was busy. This is a positive show, and Dame Kiri's positive as well on a whole lot of levels. She's positive about singing. You're positive, and you're the perfect guest for this because you're the most positive man in New Zealand, in my view, because of what you're facing. Where does that come from? Like, how are you so positive in front of literally the two most negative things on earth, death and cancer?
Because I got struck with anxiety, depression when I got this diagnosis. That's just inevitable because your world's been flipped on its side. And then this mantra came to me of going, optimism is not going to cure me, but pessimism is going to kill me. So I have to stay optimistic.
You've approached this so positively. You even had, in the documentary we've seen it, you went through the Japanese death ceremony or departure ceremony, tabadashi.
Yes. The principle of it is to let go of everything in your life. To let it go and then you transition. And I suppose it's unburdening yourself of all the worldly things you're attached to. And the crux of it is the final sort of death ceremony where he tells a story of your death. And you've written down the 12 things that are most important to you. Like 3 of them are people, 3 of them are objects, 3 of them are things you like doing. Then as the story evolves and he's taking you through and you get to a hospital and you're getting weaker and weaker and you're seeing people you love, you're slowly getting rid of these bits of paper you've written down. And physically having to pick up a name of someone you love and throw it away, I couldn't get my hand to do it. And afterwards, once I'd done that, you then lie down and he puts a Buddhist sort of death cloth over your face and you have 10 minutes to say anything you want to say. And then you transition. And I honestly left my body. I was on the roof.
What, you were outside?
I was outside of my body, looking down at my body and the whole thing going on. I mean, when I was young doing a show in Edinburgh and may have accidentally taken psychedelics and done a stand-up comedy show, I had a similar experience. This, dead sober. I'd had 1 cup of green tea. And it was the most insane and intense emotional experience of my life. And I felt so at peace. And then he sort of takes it off and we just had this hug. And it was one of the best hugs I've ever had in my life from a monk who I'd known for 12 hours.
And did that work for you, doing the ceremony?
Yes,
and doing the documentary, letting it all out.
It massively worked for me. That ceremony took away so much of my fear. It took away my fear of dying. And there's a phrase, I think it's at the end of the doco, that just flew into my mind, and it was, when the fear of dying is gone, all that is left is the joy of living. And that just filled me. And I was like, wow, I don't need to suffer. I'm doing chemo. It's pretty shit, it's pretty hard, but I don't need to suffer. I just do it. And then now, I came out of the fog. Today's a Tuesday. I came out of the fog of a chemo on a Sunday. I'm feeling good now. I'm here. And it's that perspective that just increased my optimism and increased my positivity. And I think in the Western world, we don't want to talk death. We don't want to think death because we find it spooky, we find it confronting, We find it scary. But you should think about death. If you actually just think that it's going to happen to us all, if you actually think about that, you love the moment. You love the day. Because you're like, wow, well, I'm here today. Get into it. And we had a tragic loss in my son's rugby club recently. Guy younger than me just passed away. Right? That made me go, wow. I've been dealing with this thing for 4.5 years that I'm thinking, will it get me, all that. This guy just passed away. So I'm like, I don't know what's going to get me.
What was one lesson you'd like to pass on to other Kiwis?
It would be, don't be so concerned with the material outcomes of the world, your job, the money. Be focused on your actual happiness. I have more happiness in a way now, internally, with stage 4 cancer and less work than I did when I was hosting a nightly game show, gigging here and there, da-da-da. I actually have more honest happiness now. So I'd recommend people sit and be quiet. Not meditate, just sit and be quiet and listen to yourself. And try and get in touch with your intuition and what actually makes your heart sing.
That's great. That's fantastic, Dai. Well, watch Dai's doco. It will potentially change your life, or it definitely will. The 3rd episode is on 3 tonight, and all 3 eps are up on 3 now. That was this week's Great Kiwi. Now we are going to head to our Good Kiwi. Now, it's important to note that good Kiwis are just as good as great Kiwis. Good Kiwis are unsung or community heroes. They are great. We just had to give the segments different names, so we used great and good. Now, this week, I went to West Auckland to meet our very first good Kiwi. And a warning, this next bit does mention suicide, so bear that in mind. 3,000k down, 3,000k back.
Yeah.
You're going to run 6,000k.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Why is because, last year, my brother, he took his own life. And a year before that, I had another close friend do the same thing. So those 2 losses in such a short time frame made me realise that there's a huge problem. Stefan Ozich, yeah, he was one of the most sensitive, spiritually gifted, yet stoic and practical persons I would have ever known. Yeah, I was meant to see him that next day. Yeah, bro. Fuck. I'm aiming to raise $1 million for a men's mental health foundation, Last Chance project. They are mainly focused on providing accessible resources and support for men who are struggling, all the way through the midline, South Island, Bluff, should be about there, and then back, and it's going the exact same thing back. Well, I figured it hadn't been done before.
And how long is it going to take you?
I'm aiming for 100 days. First leg, aiming for fastest known time, and then on the way back, it'll be more like 55 days, maybe a bit more, we'll see. The long path is the way that I'm choosing to go, because it is a long way. Last Chance project, that's kind of become their 3 core pillars. It's caring, it's connecting, and then it's changing.
So that's what you're running for, to promote care, connection and change?
Yeah, absolutely. But I also want to run to show that suffering is inevitable, but suffering is temporary. Through perseverance, we can work through more than we think we can. And that's really what I want to shed the light on. That darkness is inevitable in life. Like days and days and days are sometimes going to be real grim and dark and painful, but if you persevere, which I know we all can, you can fire through that. And then when you do, the next dark day you have, you're like, holy shit, I got through that. So why can't I get through this? I think people are afraid to fail. I'm kind of like here on camera now, I'm like, fuck that. Like, put yourself out there, you know? The shit situation happened for my family and I, for my brother. Do something about it.
run the length of the country
Yeah.
twice.
Yeah. Fuck yeah, man. It so happens to be that. Yeah. I don't know if I meant to swear, but
It's
man,
all good. It's all good.
I mean, it's called the fucking news, so I figured. Yeah.
Cheer, bro. Yeah. Good luck. Yeah. Good Kiwi. So what have we learned today? Well, we've learned that Stefan had a hell of a shock and so did his family, but he's decided to take that and do something positive. He wants to get around New Zealand and connect the country and take his message to them. And that's pretty damn awesome. What a good Kiwi. If you want to donate to Stefan's mission, go to www.stefanozich.com, and to find out more about Last Chance Project, go to lastchanceproject.co.nz. Now, if that piece raised anything for you, call or text 1737. Right, in the next segment, we're going to meet the brainiest Kiwis in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and I'm going to ask them 4 questions. Today's brainy Kiwi is Emily McIsaac. She's one of the founders and some of the brains behind a Kiwi startup called Daisy Lab, who are out there trying to change the world. Now, this all started with some research that Emily did at university and has led to something that could change the way New Zealand produces its biggest export, dairy, and potentially solve a big part of our climate crisis. I've got 4 questions for you, Emily, in this week's Brainy Kiwi. Emily, is it okay if I call you a Brainy Kiwi?
Sure. I don't mind that description at all.
Okay, first question. What do you and your company do?
We produce dairy identical proteins without the cows. We use yeast. We introduce the gene that codes for the protein that we want it to produce. So in our case, we're introducing a protein, a gene that codes for a protein like whey or casein, which is typically found in cow's milk. The yeast goes into the fermenter, it produces the protein, and then we extract it out.
And does it taste like milk? Because that's what everybody will be wondering. So do you drink it out of a glass? How are people going to consume it?
Sure. So we aren't producing milk as it comes out of the cow. That's a really complex whole product. We just produce the individual ingredients. So most of New Zealand's dairy is actually traded as milk powders or single ingredients. We're the world's largest dairy exporter, but only 4% of the milk is sold as whole milk. The rest is just individual proteins or ingredients. So that's what we're targeting. We can produce single proteins, and they don't really have a flavour, which is great. Just the same way that whey protein isolate that you would buy from a sports nutrition store doesn't have a flavour. So yeah, it doesn't quite taste like milk, but it provides the same functionality, nutritional components that milk proteins do.
And what could it do, big picture, in terms of climate change and carbon emissions if it takes off?
Yeah, so life cycle analysis on very similar technology at scale shows that there can be a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by up to 96%,
Wow.
reduction in land use by up to 99%, and reduction in water use by up to 97% when compared with traditional dairy. So on a big scale, when this technology, is at scale, can have a huge impact on the climate change and the associated emissions with protein production.
And how close are you guys to getting to market?
We're still a good couple of years away. So the next stage for us is scale up to pilot plant size. That's about 1,000 litre fermenter, which will demonstrate our technology at scale. And there, the next step would be commercial. So still a few years.
Massive. And that makes you a brainy Kiwi and a very worthy brainy Kiwi, Emily McIsaac from Daisy Lab. Absolutely awesome. Now, if you know a brainy Kiwi like Emily or someone out there, some New Zealander that can solve the problems of today or the problems of the world, email me. Paddy, P-A-D-D-Y, at TFN, which is tfn.co.nz.co.nz. I would love to hear from you about your brainy Kiwis. Thank you, Emily. You can go do something brainy.
Thank you very much.
Good night, Kiwi. Now it is time for Good Night Kiwi. This is where we say goodbye to a Kiwi who has passed away in recent days and celebrate their life. Our first one is Timothy Faith. Now, Tim did a very important job that we take for granted. He was the trolley manager at the New World supermarket in Otaki for 33 years. Yes, 33 years. It was Tim's first and only job. He lived with Down syndrome, so it was challenging for him, but he worked hard to master it, and he cleared the car park of trolleys like clockwork, and he helped people with their groceries too. Now, people in Otaki remember his smile, his good manners, and the way that he knew everybody's name. Tim also wore the silver fern. He represented New Zealand at the Special Olympics. He was a swimmer. Butterfly was his specialty. He won gold, silver and bronze in Dublin in 2003. Tim's family had racehorses. He's remembered at racecourses around the country. What a character. He enjoyed having a bet for $1 each way. Now, his family wanted known that if he could speak today, he would say, "Thank you, Mum and Dad, for believing in me." Tim loved ABBA, and in particular the song I Have a Dream. The lyrics say, "I have a dream, a song to sing, to help me to cope with anything." Tim died after a battle with dementia. Tim Faith was 54 years old. Good night, Kiwi. Now, every episode of TFN is going to end with a Kiwi dream, where I find out the real dreams of actual Kiwis. On Friday, I went to the Sing Wellington 2024 Barbershop Harmony New Zealand National Convention, mouthful, where I met Tux, Nathan, Harley and Richard from Hamilton. Together they are the usual suspects, last year's champions.
Well, I'll read a story to you. Oh, the difference is this one is true.
I've been doing music my whole life, so maybe getting somewhere with my music was probably a dream of mine, but it's slowly morphed into giving back to the kids and stuff, so teaching, and then I actually have my own family now, so I can teach them.
So here it is, I'm not your son.
I really dreamed of finding somewhere to sing in harmony here, and we've found it with Barbershop, which has been great.
Your dream was to sing in harmony.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a real buzz when you sing in harmony. You can't do it by yourself. You've got to have other people there. You've got to be kind of in perfect sync to make that work. And once you kind of get a little bit of it, you can't get enough.
Hey, bro.
Sure, bro.
What's your dream?
It's actually to inspire younger people from smaller towns or humble beginnings that they can do this kind of stuff, that they're not prohibited. They can just live their dreams freely, regardless of what they are. Yeah, being a small town boy myself.
Yeah, where are you from?
I live in New Zealand. Yeah.
And what, you're living your dream singing in harmony with these guys?
All day, every day. Yeah. I just really want our kids to know, and our next generation to know, that they can do the same.
That they can do what you've done. So you're living your dream.
All day, baby, all day.
The last one, so I'll leave the light on. Let there be no darkness.
I'm the old fella of the quartet, so for me, yes, I am the old fella of the quartet. For me to be singing with these guys, my dream before retirement was to do what we're doing now. So I'm lucky enough to be doing the dream that I wanted to do for 30 years. I've been singing Barbershop for 30 years.
So you've lived your dream.
You're living it. I'm living my dream. I am in the dream.
1, 2, 3. You and the birds and the bees and cupids and from up above, you make me fall in love. You make me fall in love. You make me fall in love.
Woo!
Now, I apologise for the bum note I supplied at the end there. They were mortified, but they took it pretty well, me singing. And a note, just in case you thought I did that on purpose, I was actually doing my best. I was trying quite hard. See you next week, or you'll hear me next week on episode 2 of TFN.